FPL as a game is sort of interesting, isn't it? Like, I never thought that I'd willingly waste my Tuesday evening watching Nottingham Forest against Brighton for a bit of entertainment and just be left really frustrated by the fact that Trossard's a piece of... But yeah, anyway, aside from the frustration of owning Trossard, I'm going to talk to you about the clusterfuck that was last game week. First up, I'm going to talk about the defense. It was probably the only positive, having a double Newcastle defense. Then where he perhaps could have done more than 1 point, but at least he got exponentially better than Emerson, who got 0 minutes. To be fair though, I sort of expected that from Emerson. Against Liverpool, you know, you don't really expect a lot of clean sheets or points from defenders. But Liverpool only scored once against West Ham, so maybe they're more solid than I think. That being said, with 0 minutes played for Emerson, there is a possibility that he plays this week, and he could be in my starting 11. Looking at the rest of the players then, there's obviously Nico Williams, who's a legend. He got 6 points as Forest kept a clean sheet somehow against Brighton. Brighton had so many chances, and Dean Henderson and a few other players kept them in it. Next up is the midfield. First off, I'm just going to say the first player here who shows up, I absolutely adore. Miguel Almiron has been one of my punts of the season. He's just done so well. Another goal, and now he has 5 goals already this season. 5! Who would have thought that for somebody who looks so profligate in seasons past? He got 10 points and genuinely was one of the stars of the game week for me. After that was Andreas Pereira. Fulham looked very good, but then again, Aston Villa also looked very bad, so make of that what you will. Steven Gerrard got sacked for the performance that they had. In all honesty, it could have been more. Andreas only came out with 3 points, but he had a good free kick which was saved by Martinez in goal. They could have had more goals and they could have had more chances. He did look a threat, and at 4.6 million, he's one of the best value assets in the game. Next up is Leandro Trossard. Well, what do we say here? He got 3 points, he could have had a goal, he could have had 2 assists, he probably could have had another goal. On another day, it could have been so good, but it just ended up being so bad. He hit the crossbar, and really, instead of Trossard, he should be called Crossbard. I'm sorry. After that, it was my captaincy choice, and that's Mohamed Salah. Salah played against West Ham. He didn't really do too much. Disappointing. I think a lot of people thought that he would do a lot better, considering how good he looked during the week prior. But sometimes these things happen. For me, he was the best captaincy show, and sometimes, I guess, things don't go your way. Apart from that as well, it was either going to be him or Trossard as my captain, so in reality, it was 3 or 3. Not a lot of attacking players played too well this week. Next up, we're going to talk about the attacking players. One of them was Dominic Solanke, and the other one was Harry Kane. I brought in Dominic Solanke this week for Anthony Martial, as Anthony Martial is continuing to be sidelined by a back injury, which will keep him out this game week as well. Unfortunately, Solanke blanked and got 2 points, and so did Harry Kane. United really nullified the attack of Spurs, and they didn't look too good. As for the bench, all of these players didn't have a game because they were blanking, and the other one is Iverson, who somehow hasn't really gotten a chance at Leicester, considering Danny Ward doesn't really look like a goalkeeper. Overall, the game week was okay. I did expect a red arrow, and guess what? I got a red arrow. We're down to 82k overall in the world, 44 points and a -8. But we still have our free hit chip. There was a lot of them which were played last week, and in all honesty, a free hit is worth a lot of points. And with the amount of people who have lost it already or used it, it's going to be worth a lot come the end of the season when there will be future blanks. So I'm not too downhearted. Still in the top 100k, 722 points is not bad. If anything, it's really good. But yeah, next up I'm going to be talking about the transfer decision for this week. Surprise, surprise, it's the discussion that everyone's having, and it's a decision that has to be made between these 2 players, Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden. Undoubtedly, there is something which sways my decision slightly, and it is the fact that Bukayo Saka has that 75% chance of playing according to FPL. He did take a knock in Europa League, so it is a bit of a worry. It was against PSV. After the game, it was asked whether he'd be fully fit for the weekend against Southampton, and Arteta said, and I quote, "I think he is okay. I think he will be okay." Reassuring words, of course. To be honest with you though, there was a number of decisions that I had to make between these 2. At the start, it wasn't just between them. You can see here are the 4 players that I was considering. Jared Bowen, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka and Wilfried Zaha. Looking at the fixtures, you can see that a lot of them have good fixtures, but one difficult one. For Bowen, the difficult one is against Man United away. For Foden, the home game against Brighton is the difficult one. For Saka, Chelsea away is the difficult one, while for Wilfried Zaha, their most difficult fixture for him is West Ham away. The one decision that I have to make is one of these players to replace Trossard. Then looked at other stats, such as general stats and their attacking stats. And by the way, all these stats are taken from FPL Factory. Looking at the points over the last 5 game weeks, Phil Foden has stood out massively, only closely shadowed by Bukayo Saka. Looking at the minutes, you can see Jarrod Bowen has played the most games, but Phil Foden's played the least. The question that a lot of people have about Phil Foden is how limited will his minutes be? Will he be rested? Will he be rotated? Under Pep, you just sort of assume he will be, especially with the depth they have with players like Riyad Mahrez. With Bukayo Saka, the worry is he going to be fit for this game week? Looking at the other players, I would say Bowen will play. He tends to play every game. His fitness is immense because of the fact he's a farmer. Looking at Wilfried Zaha, then the worry with him is he's just not getting a lot of points. Last game week he did, so that's an improvement, but the worry with him is, can he get them more consistently? Looking at the goals, it's amazing to think that Foden's got 5 goals in just 292 minutes. His expected goals are only 2.5, so Jarrod Bowen's is higher, but Jarrod Bowen did take a penalty and miss it. Saka's is only slightly behind at 2.4, while Wilfried Zaha is only 0.9. If you look at any of these stats, it looks like Jarrod Bowen is the most interesting pick of them all. The most amount of shots, most amount of penalties scored, the most amount of penalties missed. The best out of all of them in terms of threat rating, but you also have to realize this is a combined of all of the games that he's played in. On a per 90 basis, then looking at it, you can see that Phil Foden's getting 12.3 points a game. Saka's getting 9 points per game, and then the other two are around 5. Looking at their influence, Phil Foden's just the most influential out of all of them. His ICT is 17.6, and compared to like Zaha, that's more than double. Looking at the goals per 90, you can see Foden is just beating everybody. On stats alone, Phil Foden's the best pick. The worry for him is essentially, will he play a lot of games? I think if you own him, you're probably going to assume that he's going to come on. Looking at the fixtures, as was said recently, it's just an easy decision. If you don't overthink it, obviously, and don't worry about rotation, just go Phil Foden. For that reason, I'm going to have to decide between one of these, and that's going to be in my discussion for my team this week. In defense, I've decided to go for double Newcastle defense. Schär's starting again, and then so is Cancelo. I've chosen to go with Emerson in defense because he didn't play any minutes last week, and because of the quick turnaround in the fixtures, I do presume that he's going to start this one, or at least get a lot of minutes. As long as he makes it over 60 minutes, I'll be pretty happy with that. Next up is midfield, and I'm going to be talking about who I bring in first. So, no surprises here. Going by stats, it's Phil Foden. He's just been in immense form lately. I'm taking the chance just based purely on the fact that he's probably going to score goals. That's basically it. I think sometimes you got to not overthink fantasy football and just accept that there will be rotation, especially with such quick turnaround. The rest of the players then, Miggy Almiron starts again. I love the man. Hopefully he scores again. In his current form, he probably will. Keeping Salah for another week. You can't get rid of Salah when they're playing against Nottingham Forest. Then after that, I'm also keeping Martinelli. Martinelli's been in great form this season. He's been one of the best picks. And Arsenal have Southampton away. He should be one of the more highly owned players. The one worry that I do have with this midfield and defense is that I am trebling up against a Spurs side who aren't that good, I don't think. Looking at them against Man United, they did look a little bit lackluster. So maybe I'm taking a bit of a punt here. I think a lot of people before the season would have looked at Newcastle and thought, you know what, they're all right. They're not great. But now I think they're up there. I think they're probably one of the best 7 sides in the league, and they'll give a pretty tough game for Spurs, even away from home. Next up is forwards. I'm going to be talking about the 3 ones who are starting for me. First up is Dominic Solanke. Solanke plays against West Ham away from home. I'm not expecting a massive haul or anything, but if he gets an assist for billing or even a goal, I'll be pretty happy with that. Next up is Erling Haaland, who unsurprisingly is going to be my captain and probably the majority of the players in the game's captain. Man City are playing Brighton this game week, and Brighton under De Zerbi have not looked great. They have not won a single game. It looks like a tough start for the Zerbi's men. Against Man City, I just think they're going to be able to play through them, score a lot of goals, and for me, it's how many they will score. I think Haaland is the bona fide captaincy pick this week, even if I do think Salah is a great pick as well. Looking at this side, it's actually mental to think that you can have 3 players, Haaland, Kane, and Salah. Imagine in seasons past being able to do that. Next up as well is Harry Kane. Kane is at home to Newcastle, so it's a bit of a battle here between my double defense and Harry Kane. I do think they probably will score. I just hope there's a few points there and Shar scores a worldie. In reality, it's a win-win because I do think if Spurs score, it's going to probably come from Kane. Next up is my bench, and there's going to be a few things here that have probably a few disagreements. I think a few people probably would have started Guehi instead of Emerson and Andreas Pereira instead of Almiron, but I just think they're more interesting fixtures. Andreas does have Leeds away, which on paper is a better fixture than Spurs away, but Almiron's in form, and sometimes you just got to go with the form player. FPL's a bit of fun like that. Then Nico Williams obviously is the third sub. I don't want him coming anywhere near my team, purely because of the fact I do think Forest are going to concede a lot of goals. I'm not even sure he'll start. And then Iverson, he's just there, isn't he? He's just taking up a space. Yeah, so that's my one transfer. I'm pretty sure every single person in fantasy football has done the same. It's not anything groundbreaking, but if you've liked the video, leave a like, subscribe. I think the quality of them, like in terms of like all this sort of stuff, is getting better. If you do agree, leave a comment down below. That sort of jazz. Yeah, anyway, that's been my team for game week 13. Leave a comment down below. I'll give you feedback on your team. Also, I might have some Liverpool news